From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Kid Pan Alley is a non-profit organization that holds songwriting workshops for students across the United States. The organization recently visited a school in the Anacostia area of Washington. The children presented a concert with the help of songwriter and recording artist Paul Reisler. He established Kid Pan Alley in 1999. Since then, he has worked with more than 35,000 students and produced more than 2,200 songs. He says the power of music can teach children skills they might not learn in school. He believes the American educational system is focused too much on standardized tests designed to measure knowledge. But Paul Reisler says we now live in a creative economy. He says his group is trying to inspire children to be creative. At Orr Elementary School in Anacostia, 95% of students come from poor families. Marlon Ray is the school's dean of students. He says some of the children have difficult lives, but he says these kids still want to strive for greatness. Jonna Turner is director of programs at the school. She says the 4th and 5th grade students are often focused on more than school. Some have to help their families or live in homeless shelters. A shooting took place in April directly in front of the school. No one was injured, but the incident affected the whole community. Students are often influenced by what happens around them. Still, Orr Elementary School has a positive, hopeful atmosphere. Marlon Ray says the workshop and concert made possible by Kid Pan Alley created good memories that will last for years. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University's Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland, have designed a new humanoid, or human-like robot. Its name is Robo-Sally. The machine can be controlled from a distance and can be used to do work that is dangerous for human beings. Robo-Sally has 2 long arms with human-like hands. She can use her fingers to pick up small objects, examine them in detail, and do most things that human hands can do. Each finger contains a tiny motor capable of squeezing 20 pounds of pinch force, enough to defuse a bomb under the direction of an operator. Robo-Sally sits on a metal base with wheels that let the robot move around, turn in tight spaces, and climb over small objects. Mike McLaughlin is the main investigator for the Applied Physics Laboratory's prosthetics program. It was a difficult job. Mr. McLaughlin says the robot hand had to have many small motors to have the ability to do what a human hand does. It also needed to have human-like strength. For search and rescue duties, Robo-Sally will be operated by a person using a wireless machine that is far from the robot. The operator will also wear special glasses. The glasses will permit the operator to see the robot's hands. Mr. McLaughlin says this kind of robot could be used in what he calls dull, dirty, or dangerous situations where fine human finger movements are required. Mr. McLaughlin says the technology is not fully ready yet. He predicts that within 5 years, there will be some very big improvements. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
Welcome to the Voice of America's Newswords, where we teach you about words in the news. This is a word you often hear in stories about violence or war.
Here is White House spokesman Jay Carney talking about whether more U.S. troops could stop the violence in Iraq.
There was sectarian conflict, violent sectarian conflict in Iraq when there were 150,000 U.S. troops on the ground there.
Sectarian means something to do with groups or sects. Sectarian violence is when different groups fight each other or against a government.
Sects can be based on religious, ethnic, or cultural beliefs. Now, when you hear the word sectarian,
You will know what this news word means.
In 1998, Lawrence Garrison and his brother Lamont were students at Howard University in Washington. They both worked for the Justice Department and planned to attend law school. But a man who had fixed their car was arrested on drug charges. He told investigators that the Garrisons had been involved.
And they questioned. That's when they showed me pictures of Tito Bear. They asked, have you ever seen this guy? I said, yeah, he fixed my car.
The repairman could have received a 10-year jail sentence for drug distribution. The only way to reduce that sentence was to say someone else was involved. Critics of mandatory sentences say people suspected of violating drug laws often falsely accuse others. Julie Stewart is president of Families Against Mandatory Minimum Sentences.
Have a shorter sentence, and so they'll give someone up. Other times people actually even make up names and say, well, yeah, so-and-so did this. You know I saw him one time.
Lamont Garrison remembers being given the chance to reduce his sentence.
And they said, okay, Mr. Garrison, it's your opportunity, to help yourself. And I said, well, help myself out. What do you mean? Well, you know what this is about. You guys were doing wrong, X, Y, Z. You got to tell us what you were doing. I said, well, I wasn't doing anything wrong, so it's nothing to talk about.
They call it the best tool in their arsenal because they can hold that hammer over a defendant's head and say, if you don't either give us more information, you're going to get this 5 or 10-year sentence.
I think this might be the latest one.
The Garrisons were never charged with drug possession, just conspiracy. A federal jury in Virginia ruled against them because of the statements of the repairman and his brother. Government lawyers presented no other evidence.
So there was such an enormous sensitivity around the crack cocaine issue that I think you could have taken just about anybody to trial and charged them, charged them with some sort of crack cocaine offense and found them guilty.
Lawrence Garrison served 12 years in jail. His brother served almost 14. The repairman was sentenced to 18 months. The Garrisons no longer have any interest in the law. They say the system is corrupt. I'm Jim Tedder.
Members of a Texas high school debate team are working on their presentations. They are debating a call to extend the federal ban on assault weapons.
This is a long-term ban. If you see
So
before
how long
the ban,
will this ban have to go on? How long will we have to restrict people's rights?
But let's look at what actually happened in the 1994
Debaters
ban.
use
This is a focus
evidence
study.
and reason to question the arguments of their opponents.
The biggest fallacy that we can possibly talk about is the slippery slope fallacy, because it relies on so many other variables.
The students' personal beliefs are not as important as their ability to argue either side of an issue.
So you're saying that if we continue with what's going on now, it's going to cost more money? Yes. That's good, but you have to get evidence. Yeah, you have to give us...
Deanne Christensen is the Oak Ridge High School debate coach.
And it's great when they disagree with each other. It's awesome to see them trying to defend their position.
High school debaters can be great critics of candidate debates. Debater Jonathan McClanahan thinks one-sidedness weakens civility.
I don't think we should have to hate the president to disagree with him. That's why I honestly believe that with partisanship, we need to be more respectful to each other. We need to be able to have bipartisan bills passed. We need to work together more.
with small teams of highly trained...
Bryce Brady thinks political leaders could learn from high school debaters.
I definitely think politicians today could get a real lesson from a high school debate team.
They're very smart, and they want to see this country be successful because they are that future of our country.
Deanne Christensen believes some of these award-winning debaters will be the leaders of tomorrow. I'm June Sims.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. Leaders and officials from more than 100 nations attended the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. More than 40,000 activists and political and business leaders were also there. The three-day conference in June marked the 20th anniversary of the first UN Earth Summit, also held in Rio. That conference helped build support for the 1997 Kyoto Agreement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The Rio Plus 20 conference sought to bring attention to 7 major issues. The UN says jobs, energy, and sustainable cities are of top importance. Food security, water, oceans, and dealing with disasters are other issues basic to lifting people out of poverty. The mayor of New York City, Michael Bloomberg, took part in a discussion among mayors of some of the world's largest cities. They talked about measures to cut greenhouse gases. These gases are known to trap heat and have been linked to climate change. Cities are responsible for up to 75% of the gases. Mr. Bloomberg said the world's mayors are taking the lead on issues like the environment and sustainability. He said, even as progress at the national and international level has faltered, it's fair to say that world cities have forged ahead. And the reason for that is clear: mayors. He called them the great pragmatists on the world stage and said they are directly responsible for the well-being of the majority of the world's people. He said mayors just don't have the luxury to simply talk about change and not deliver it. Mayors reported using electric vehicles, better street lighting, and improved waste management to reduce cities' greenhouse emissions. Bindu Lohani is a top official with the Asian Development Bank based in the Philippines. The bank has promised billions to sustainable development. Mr. Lohani said Asia's fast growth places heavy pressure on the environment and society. He says the bank predicts that by 2050, more than 50% of the global economy will be in Asia. Some environmental activists complained that there were many promises of action at the Rio+20 conference, but few clear targets for reducing pollution and the use of natural resources. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. To learn more about the Rio 20 conference, go to voaspecialenglish.com. You can also share your thoughts about the meeting. And you can read, listen, and learn English with our programs and activities.